Hi, kindergarten. It's Mrs. Merritt. Today we're going to do Module 3, Lesson 21. And our objective is I will compare sets using more, less, and fewer. So we've talked about more and less, but fewer also can mean less. So if I have fewer plates than I need for the party, I don't have enough. I have less than what I need. A lot of your work is going to be looking at the screen today. If you would like to, though, go grab something to write with and something to write on and come on back. So we're going to dive right in today, and I want to talk about the shapes we see on our screen. What kind of shapes do you see? Does anyone remember this shape? A rectangle, very good. Does anyone remember this shape? A square, which has our 4 equal sides. Do we remember this shape? A circle, it just goes around and around. It's the shape called a triangle, and it has how many sides? 3 sides. And then down here, what do we have? We have a hexagon. And a hexagon has 6 sides. Great job. So we're going to be comparing the number of shapes we see. I'm going to give you 2 shapes to compare. We're going to pull them down, and we're going to figure out if there's more or less of each shape. Okay? So we're going to pull the squares and triangles down. I'm going to pull all the triangles down here. And I like to stay organized when I pull my shapes out because it just helps me when I go to answer questions about if there's more or less. It just helps me. It's a very simple way. You can see it really quickly. Now I'm going to pull my squares down. I'm going to match each triangle with a square. One slid away from us. It keeps sliding away. I'm going to move my webcam up here so you can see all our squares. Okay, so I want you to look at the squares and the triangles. Do I have more triangles or more squares? I have more squares, and look at, see how nice and organized this is? I can just look and see that the squares over here, there are how many that don't have anything, don't have a triangle to match? 1, 2. There are 2 squares that don't have a triangle, so I can automatically tell I have more squares than triangles. So, which shape do I have fewer of or less of? Good job. I have fewer triangles than I do squares. Very, very good. We're going to do the same thing with circles and hexagons now. I'm going to pull all the circles down. Did I get all the circles? Yeah. I need the hexagons. Okay. Look and think. Do I have fewer circles or fewer hexagons? If you think I have fewer circles, put your hand on your head. If you think I have fewer hexagons, put your hand on your nose. I have fewer hexagons, so if you put your hand on your nose, you are right. I can look here and see that each hexagon has a match. But over here, how many more circles do I have than I have hexagons? I have two more circles. So challenge question. How many more hexagons would I need to make my number of circles and my number of hexagons the same as one another? I would need two more hexagons because I would need a match here and a match here, right? Very good. But looking at this right here, I have fewer hexagons than I have circles. Let's say it together. We have fewer hexagons than we have circles. And we know this because each hexagon and circle have a match, and we have circles left over, but we do not have more hexagons left. We would need two more to even make them the same as each other. Ooh, now we're moving to rectangles and hexagons. I'm going to move these rectangles down. I'm going to need your help making sure I got all of them. Look at, they tried to trick us. I'm going to start moving some hexagons down. Two, so we have a little more room. And this one, my shapes aren't perfectly lined up. So we're going to need to do something. And I want you to think about what we could do to see if we have fewer hexagons or fewer rectangles. How could we problem solve through this? Because they're not perfectly lined up like our other ones are. So what could we do? We could draw a line. Awesome. Just going to grab a marker here. Okay, so we're going to draw a line from each hexagon to each rectangle. Here we go. So looking at our picture of rectangles and hexagons, do we have fewer hexagons or fewer rectangles? We have fewer hexagons than we do rectangles. So if we have fewer hexagons, are there more rectangles or more hexagons? There are more of what? Rectangles. How many more rectangles are there than there are hexagons? How did you figure that out? We can count them, right? 1, 2, 3. When we ask a how many question, we're asking you for a number. Okay, you guys are getting really good at this. We're going to do one more, and then I'm going to explain your exit ticket, okay? So we need to figure out if there are fewer squares or circles. So it's my first thing I'm going to do. Yep, I can drag down the squares or the circles. So I'm going to drag down the squares. There are a lot of squares, aren't there? As I'm dragging down the squares, you can count them. Remember that little square's over there. Now can you start counting the circles for me? Hey, how many squares do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares. And let's count our circles together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now they're lined up pretty nicely underneath each other. I want you to tell me, are there fewer squares or fewer circles? If you think there are fewer squares, put your hand on your nose. If you think there are fewer circles, put your hand on your head. If you put your hand on your head and said circles, you are correct. There are less circles than there are squares. I can tell this just by looking at my picture. Since it's organized and lined up, I can tell that there are less circles than there are squares. How many more squares are there than circles? We can count, right? 1, 2, 3. Great job. So you guys went above and beyond with your objective today. I like coming back to this slide because it shows us what we were supposed to learn and we can check off if we learned it. So we said that we will compare sets using more. Did we figure out which one had more? Yeah, we did a few of those problems. Less. Did we do any of those? Yeah. And fewer. When we were figuring out if we had fewer, we were also figuring out if they had less, right? Because they mean essentially the same thing. If you have less of an object, then you have fewer of it than another object. But you guys went above and beyond, and you were telling me how many more you would need to make the groups equal. So when I asked you over here, how many more squares did you have than circles? You could have easily told me, I have 3 more squares. And then how many, if you have 3 more squares, how many more circles would you need to make the number the same as, the two groups the same as each other? Those 3, right? They need a match. So you guys are going above and beyond with each objective, and I am so, so proud of you. On your exit ticket today, you're going to answer questions that pertain to our objective. So you're going to compare 2 sets and figure out which one has more sometimes. Sometimes it's going to ask which has fewer or less. So just keep those listening ears on and open when you're given your directions for your exit ticket, okay? Have a wonderful day. I will see you later.